guys, so welcome back to another, quick thoughts, quick bites, bite-sized review of Star Wars Tales of the Jedi. I'm Alvan.
I'm Kevin.
This is our third video together, and it's also kind of like another Star Wars based video. So Tales of the Jedi released last week, 6 episodes. It's an anthology series, 3 episodes of Ahsoka and 3 episodes of Dooku. They're all less than 20 minutes, written by Dave Filoni, directed by different people. Very talented, very good storytelling. I thought this was kind of like one of the best kind of stories that Star Wars has told in its universe. What did you think?
Yeah, I think that Star Wars has kind of... Movies has always been their biggest thing, right? Like, everyone shows up for the theatrical releases. I think it's like... because there's been so many things that they've done with their TV shows, it's easy to like lose track of the things that they introduced. But I think that Tales of the Jedi is really unique because it offers like another new view into like the Star Wars like mythos. We had that previous exposure already with Andor that came out more recently too, where it like shows more of the rebel side. But this one specifically focuses, I wouldn't even say it's Tales of the Jedi per se, but it's those who don't exactly fit within the natural like Jedi order. So it was really interesting to see their stories play out.
Yeah, that's a good point. And another thing that I'll touch upon is I think the best Star Wars stories from the Disney acquisition for me has been the stories that kind of don't really connect to the main storyline. So Tales of the Jedi, Star Wars Visions is another anthology series that's like more anime based, which is really well done, and it had different animation styles. For me, Rogue One is probably up there, and Jedi Fallen Order. They all kind of tell separate stories within the universe, but they're not following the specific Skywalker saga. And I think that's really effective, kind of just showcasing this wide, vast galaxy that they can explore rather than kind of resorting to one specific lineage. And kind of delving into that, I thought the Dooku episodes were a standout. I really enjoyed seeing him from like a young master to like leaving the Jedi Order. Like, it takes place concurrently to episode 1. Yeah, it's like takes place concurrently to episode 1, and then we see what he's been up to and like why he turned, like he's a fallen Jedi. And that was the most compelling story within these 6 episodes, but also it's also cool seeing the prequel trilogy explored from a different perspective, where it's like a Jedi is jaded with the Order, and it seems like multiple Jedi are actually jaded with the Order, and just seeing how they explored that aspect. What do you think?
Yeah, at first I thought it was really interesting that they started off with an Ahsoka episode where they showed like her origins and basically how her parents decided that she was a Jedi. Yeah, basically. But her
conception.
So I was a bit surprised when they kind of segued that. Like, it seemed very abrupt to switch that between her and then suddenly to cut to Dooku during the events of what was it, The Phantom Menace? Yeah.
The last episode of Dooku takes place at the same time as Phantom Menace.
Yeah. It was just really interesting because I did see things online about people like not really understanding why those two were the like main focus. Specifically, I've heard things like where people didn't really like Ahsoka being there because she already has pretty huge like coverage in like Star Wars, The Clone Wars, and Star Wars Rebels.
She's getting her own show.
She's getting her own show too. Yeah. But I think it's really important because it just highlights the difference that the two had and like the different paths that they went down. They both like strayed away from the Jedi path, but I found Dooku's story really fascinating because it gives his character more depth compared to his character was already pretty well like established in the prequels, but it was really interesting to see his relationship with a young like Padawan Qui-Gon, who saved him temporarily from going to the dark side. His interactions with Yaddle, who until now hadn't really been featured in any Star Wars media. Canon media. Yeah. Just seeing like the different events that shaped both of them, it was really something. The animation, the storytelling. I think Dave Filoni does really well with the episodes that he directs, with like specifically like with character development.
Yeah, he actually didn't direct these episodes. He wrote all 6, but then he got different people to direct these stories. But I know what you're saying. He's a good storyteller within this universe. And I think that there's been some, I'm not going to say backlash, but then a lot of people are already kind of tired. It's like Tony Gilroy, who showruns Andor and he wrote the episodes of Andor, he's not a big Star Wars fan compared to Dave Filoni, who was, he's literally like George Lucas's protege. So I guess there's just different views when it comes to Star Wars, where it's like, oh, you can have this, you can tell stories, but it can be disconnected and go to different places. Whereas I think for Filoni, he kind of tries to stay within his own canon. You know what I'm saying? I don't think there's anything good or anything bad. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, it's just storytelling in general. Everyone has a different view of it. But I think I will go on to the Ahsoka episodes. I thought the Ahsoka episodes were fine. The first one was just like, all right, I don't really need to see her origin. Like, it doesn't even focus on Ahsoka. It focuses on Ahsoka's mom, which I'm just like, I don't really care. Like, we don't see her at all in the Clone Wars series because they abducted her. They're non-existent in the story. And then the second one, when she's training with what, like Anakin's like training her from the clones or whatever, like to avoid blaster shots or whatever. Again, it's like whatever. I think I'm I'm tired of Ahsoka. I'm just tired of seeing Ahsoka stories. Because these all take place within a timeline we already know. So it's like, I already know she lives through Rebels and she's getting her own series that kind of takes place after Rebels. I know she survives. There's not really any like thing they can add to her character. It's just like kind of more, I don't know if they had other Jedi in their, like, I don't know if Filoni had other Jedi in his mind when coming up with this story. But I would love to see another season of this. I think this can be a series, like kind of just having multiple seasons, because it is Tales of the Jedi. It's not a specific thing. So I would love to see it kind of go back before the prequels to maybe like Old Republic or High Republic, and then maybe focus on sequel stuff, like see what Rey's doing, Finn, Luke for sure between episodes 6 and 7. Maybe focus on Ben Solo or something. Like, this has a lot of potential, and I think I'm really excited to see what can come out of this, this series, or whatever happens with they're doing with this right now. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you want to see more of this? And if so, who do you want to see?
I think one of the best things that I've seen to come out of Star Wars was definitely like stuff from the Old Republic. I just think in terms of, for Star Wars being a whole series, it really just focuses on basically one war, and it's mostly the Empire and like how the Republic gets kind of rebuilt.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah, I think they have such a, I'm not sure if it's due to like any sort of issues with like I don't know, like working out deals with like presenting different parts of Star Wars, but they've always focused within like stuff after like the Battle of Yavin, is it?
Yeah, so yeah. Episode 4 is Battle of Yavin, episode 6 is...
Yeah, so it's always around the stuff that's around like 0 BBY, like within that relative time frame, but there are so many different stories that they could tell. Like I want to see like wars between like entire factions of like Sith and Jedi. Like I want to see that. What's her name? The one with Bastilla Khan. Sean. Bastilla Sean. Like her with the double-bladed lightsabers.
They actually revealed the Black Series of that this week.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, like updated armor and Darth Malik. And he has like an updated like everything. Sorry, that's the figure talk right there.
Yeah, but there's so many other stories that they can do. I think this is like a good start. Like it at least like it shows characters that are maybe like less featured. So like I really appreciated them like diving into Dooku, because now his backstory is one of the most fascinating for me out of the stuff that I've seen from Star Wars. But there's definitely so many things that they can do with the license itself.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess the biggest takeaway from this review is check this show out, but I would highly recommend just kind of watching the Dooku episodes only, because if you know Ahsoka from the other like shows and mediums, you don't really need it. It's just kind of supplemental material, whereas I think for Dooku right now, it was pretty vital. So I would highly recommend checking it out. I think Star Wars animation in general is just kind of, it's been one of my favorites within these past few years. I think Star Wars works better as TV too. I'll say that. Yeah. Those are my thoughts. Any final thoughts?
I personally really did enjoy the Ahsoka episodes, but that's also coming from someone who didn't really... Like, I sped through the entirety of the Clone Wars. Like, I basically binge-watched it, so I was just eager to get more content for Star Wars in general. Having this backstory with Ahsoka, I don't think we should have looked at it with her being the main focus, but there's this one episode, just the one where she's just training over and over with the clones. I think the most important takeaway from that one was the parallels between like her and Anakin Skywalker's relationship and Count Dooku's and Yaddle's, because basically they both were kind of like mentors, and they helped lead like each other into different paths. And it's kind of interesting seeing that Ahsoka was taught by someone who eventually fell to the dark side, and she took a path that was kind of in between the dark side and the good side. Yeah. But yeah, and it was also just really fascinating because we see like certain, like, they're not exact parallels, but you can there's another one with Count Dooku and Yaddle, and how he got to see the full demonstration of the Jedi power, but in the end it still wasn't enough to convince him to stay with them. Yeah, just two very different approaches. So I appreciate them kind of balancing it out with both of the stories that they told. I definitely think it was a good decision to start with one story and not continue it, and then suddenly halfway through the season start another story. It just let me really intake it and just draw parallels of my own for the characters.
Those were good thoughts, Kevin. Those are really good. So yeah, that's just what we thought about Tales of the Jedi. I would say, we said it before, check it out. And this has been What Would You Think? I've been Alvan.
Kevin.
And like this video, comment down below, subscribe, and please let us know what else you want us to talk about. Stay tuned, guys. Bye.